Welcome back to the Blue Springs High School esports live streams. Today we have Blue Springs High School versus Lee Summit North, the junior varsity players for only one match. Your shoutcasters for today will be myself, Auto Bionics,
Me, Remy does things.
And then me, Bunny Cat 210.
Currently, the first match has just started. We can see some of the lineups going on. From the looks of it, Blue Springs has started by splitting up quite a bit.
They're quite all over the map, actually.
From the looks of it, they're kind of combing the area to start a defense and hopefully get some advantage points. We saw Fat Cake go for some of the same thing. He went more on a far more roundabout thing, ran into somebody, got taken out. Similarly, Toasted Oreo did as well. So we can see
Everyone's getting wiped out.
we can see the remaining two players up in the top right grouping together, hoping to be able to survive. But from the looks of it, the game may not go great for them.
I have to say, splitting up wasn't the greatest idea.
Especially so early on in the game.
And early on. It's a bold move to make, especially considering. Yeah.
Definitely, and because they were so split up, we could see that there was not a lot of resistance that was put up against Lee Summit.
Unfortunately, they were all just picked off one by one. It's hard to, especially in a game like this, you don't want to split up because everyone can, once you're split up, you have no one to defend you and see where you were attacked.
Mm-hmm. On top of that, Lee Summit has definitely already got quite a big difference in credits. So if Blue Springs does win the next match, that means that Lee Summit will have enough to catch up and even the playing field once again.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on how this goes, it looks like it might be a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, we have to hope though. So it looks like we're not staying together. Oh boy. And then we're down to 2 once more. Boondock survived long again. It's Boondock and Kano once more. I don't know if it's through luck of not running into an enemy but it is unfortunate, everyone. And there goes Kano.
On top of that, that's a 5-kill from Lee Summit's Phoenix. Some very strong plays happening. From the looks of it, Blue Springs hasn't been as responsive as they've needed to thus far.
We can definitely see that Lee Summit's Phoenix has 6 kills compared to Blue Springs not being able to get any kills yet, actually.
Yeah, this is not the greatest setup. They have quite a different amount of credits already. But Phoenix is really going in for the kill now. Definitely someone to watch out for. And we're splitting up once more. Well, we're somewhat sticking together.
It seems that the teams are mainly splitting into pairs, which is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
We can see over here with Eclipse,
Yeah.
having knocked down Lee Summit's Phoenix, but that isn't making much of a difference.
Yeah.
We are watching Toasted Oreo, and it seems that they've been inflicted with an enemy skill, and are now the last one standing.
Yeah.
Oof. We can see a lot of very aggressive plays coming from Lee Summit North. A lot of pushing in and just very responsive plays from them on top of that. The second they've seen somebody from Blue Springs, they've pretty much been scoped in and ready. From the looks of it, Blue Springs just hasn't been as on guard.
No, they really haven't. So far, Toasted Oreo is the only one with a confirmed kill. But now everyone on Lee Summit's team has gotten a kill, at least. So, if I were in part, I would say to everyone to team up and stick together, but already, again, everyone's Fat Cake's off on their own as well as Toasted Oreo.
From the looks of it, what is giving Lee Summit the advantage right now is that they are sticking together.
Yeah.
Because with what we've seen, they've always been in a large group, which makes it hard to counter because players are taking too much damage at once.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, they're sticking together and staying locked on every possible angle, meaning one of their players is at least watching each angle.
Mm-hmm.
They're aware of their surroundings, they know their map well, and they're being active and watching out, and it seems to be working very well for them.
It seems they're all like they always go in like the same area. If you ask me, that's what I believe it's to be. I haven't seen this map too much, but they have a set area. Yeah, it's a trap waiting. The thing is, everyone's going in to try and attack them at the center, but they should play more defensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Going back in, we can already see that one of Blue Springs' players has been taken out.
It is just a testament to the enemy Phoenix, but they just got taken down by Boondock, and Toasted Oreo took down Big Cheese for Boondock to get taken down by Frog and a Tux.
We're now seeing a lot more back and forth. Blue Springs is kind of evening the playing field, though it is still a 3v2. They can definitely pull this one out.
Mm-hmm.
Although seeing as Lee Summit just planted the spike, Blue Springs is put under a time crunch now.
Mm-hmm.
It's also very likely what Blue Springs is doing is they're playing the playstyle that they are the least comfortable with first to turn the game around in the second half.
Yeah, that would be a good strategy to set up.
I haven't told him. Just not to go without him.
Oh, okay.
We can hear that the spike is about to detonate, and just as Blue Springs walks into Frog and attacks, even if they were able to not get shot down, they probably wouldn't have had enough time to
Diffuse the spike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was unfortunate. It was just a trap in the late. But we do see Tosadorio with now 2 kills, Nugget with 1, as well as Boondock. So they're catching up, but Phoenix has a solid 11, and Frog in the Tux with 6, Big Cheese 4, 3, 1.
we can see that both Blue Springs and Lee Summit have team ultimates ready. And with that, it's going to be very interesting depending on whether or not they are saving or using these skills.
Yeah.
Definitely. Blue Springs is making a bit more of a comeback. They're putting up quite a resistance now, which can definitely be better for them. But the likelihood is that they are better at defending, and they've chosen a mode, or the mode that they have ended up starting out with is not in favor to them.
We just saw Tosadorio taking out Phoenix.
But for
not
Phoenix to revive.
revive and get Nugget. So, that was his ability.
So is this ability?
Oh, Phoenix. Alright. Tosadorio taking him out once more.
It is though a spike's about to detonate, and it is a 2v4, so Blue Springs doesn't have much of a chance.
On top of that, Blue Springs' killjoy is extremely low, so the likelihood of them being able to pull that off was extremely low regardless.
Mm-hmm. Entering would be not a great idea.
Something that I've noticed is for those who have seen the varsity games, Lee Summit's Phoenix is acting a lot like Aspera was last game with being very aggressive in the beginning of the match.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
That can always change throughout the match, but he is doing exceedingly well.
Mm-hmm. So,
It is just a prop to testament to all of these players' skills.
but we are seeing a slight turnaround. So, if it does keep up, though, potentially Blue Springs can get a win.
Definitely. We're seeing a lot more movement. Blue Springs is moving around, but they seem to be staying in at least one general location. From the looks of it, they're trying to go for a bit more of a defensive standpoint.
Hopefully they're able to turn around this massive gap. But seeing as it is now a 3v5, it is I worry that it's going to be very unlikely, especially because that Lee Summit is just about 7 points away from getting a victory.
Being as we do only have specifically a Killjoy, not anymore. We have a Killjoy left,
Yeah.
who is sadly by herself. There's not much she could have done in that scenario.
No. 1v4 would call for a clutch that is high and possible.
We can see that some trading's going on and some buying of new weapons.
We
Yeah.
have about almost everyone with their ultimate ready, except for Toasted Oreo, but they do have the highest kill count so far with 4 kills.
We have definitely been seeing a lot more of an aggressive playstyle from Toasted Oreo as the only person to be able to counter this. It's definitely been a at least notable game for her, as regardless of the enemy team's almost notable domination thus far, she's still managing.
Especially since the situation she's been placed in isn't exactly too fair for her.
On top of that, the other players, from the looks of it, have been getting picked off before they could react, so it is a matter of reaction time. That doesn't mean that they are specifically bad players, as we've seen some really good things come from them before.
As someone who's managed to talk with Toasted Oreo outside of the game and connect with them personally, I know that her reaction time is very high. So it makes sense that she's been able to pull off some of these stunts, but also just with everything going on and how aggressively Summit has been, it's no surprise that things are getting very quickly into Lee Summit's favor.
You see Phoenix come back with his ultimate and trying to avenge his death, but
With the spike about to detonate, and there being 5 other players while he's at low health. It was either someone else was going to get him or the spike gets him.
that's gonna be.
It's also definitely showing that Blue Springs is playing and kind of waiting for a fight, while Lee Summit North is more aggressively going for that fight. And the fact that they're seeking it out may be why there's such a huge gap happening currently.
And we can also see that, from the looks of it at least, Lee Summit is saving their credits for hopefully more comfortable weapons for when the switch occurs.
Definitely, but Lee Summit North, from the looks of it, they're only going to need good weapons when the switch occurs, because if that does happen for them, they will, even if Blue Springs puts up a resistance there, if they are prepared, they can definitely still win, which is an issue for Blue Springs for sure.
As someone who doesn't know much with Valorant, and in case anyone also watching doesn't, what is the switch?
The switch is when the attackers and defenders specifically change their sides. Being as Blue Springs may be better at attacking or they may be better at defending, Lee Summit North may be better at attacking or defending. There's generally a switch in the middle of the game that gives the teams a chance to even the odds. We can once again see that Lee Summit North's Phoenix has gotten 4 kills.
Leaving Boondock left on his own with the spike soon to be detonated. And in case you had questions, when it comes to attacking and defending, how you can tell if a team is attacking is if they have the spike.
From what happened there, we saw Boondock win that fight with one of Lee Summit North's players, but 4 of them were following very closely behind. They all moved out as a team, and regardless of taking one out, you still have 4 guns trained on you.
Now we see Lee Summit's Phoenix with a large 20 kills, Frog following after with 10, and then 9. As quite the kill count indeed. But on Blue Springs we still have about 4 for the highest with Toasted Oreo. They're doing the best they can with what they've gotten. But it seems now at least a few of them are staying teamed up. Although Fat Cake is running off on his own quite a bit. And that
The problem is, even if there's staying teamed up, there's some distance between them.
Mm-hmm. No one can come and react in time, and it's not helping to say.
Especially since Lee Summit North is about 4 points away from victory.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen gaps like this get close to the varsity games, but with how things have just been going so far, I think this isn't going to be a win for Blue Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. If they could manage to take out that Phoenix, they could definitely have a better advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in order to close that gap, they would all have to move together in a pod, and from the looks of it, that's not quite happening.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. To get a
And-
better chance, I would agree moving as a pod. But it could leave them open to getting wiped out all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But it does seem that Phoenix is Lee Summit's Phoenix is what's really getting us. Or Blue Springs.
Lee Summit's Phoenix is basically Blue Springs varsities, Astro and Ravage.
Practically, yes. At least in terms of leading. In varsity games, it does switch around a lot, though.
Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of switching around when it comes to varsity games on the skills. But with this, it is definitely a game that's early on in the season, and also just the team's getting used to the competition with each other, and so it's understandable that Blue Springs is struggling. Yeah, with this.
Definitely. On their side, I'm seeing a lot of lack of being together, a lot of, frenzied being away from each other, their movement's not exactly what it should be from the looks of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because the second they move away from each other, they're getting picked by that Phoenix from Lee Summit North.
My memory might not be the greatest, but I think we were doing better when Toasted was paired up with. I can't remember.
It was either
but
Nugget
I
or
think it was
Boondock.
Nugget or so.
I think it may have been Boondock.
Or Boondock. I think it was Boondock or Nugget. But even when you just have a good duo, you can really pull it through. But
Mm-hmm.
I understand though the desire of going off, but teaming up would really be a good idea.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a timeout come from Blue Springs end, so they would be able to have time to discuss and figure out what plans might work the best for them.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. With Lee Summit North having 11 points currently, they, once again, are going to want to group up, but after this round, there is a switch. So hopefully Blue Springs will be able to take advantage of that, but if they do give Lee Summit this point, that means that they only need 1 point following this, while Blue Springs will need 13.
It is, at least in my opinion, seeing as how the pattern has been going lately, that even after the switch, things aren't going to get better for Blue Springs.
Definitely. We're seeing more kills from Lee Summit North's Phoenix once again.
Especially coming from their Phoenix.
We saw
Nugget
Nugget
just
take
took-
him out.
Yeah.
Ah.
So that is.
But still, there's one player against 4. That's not...
the chances aren't very high, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we can hope that they at least take out a few more.
Even then, the spike has been planted.
Mm-hmm.
If Nugget isn't careful and finds that spike with the right amount of cover, it's
Ooh.
going to detonate.
We
even
saw
then.
2 kills come from Nugget, including Lee Summit North's top player currently.
Mm-hmm.
Though the second he went to reload, he was
Open.
Taken out
Yes.
and left open. Which is another reason staying in the team is a good idea with coordination and loading. But we can hope soon they change battle plan, but
now that they've swapped, if Nugget can pull out some more plays like that and hopefully work together with Toasted Oreo and Boondocked, the other two who've been performing the best on Blue Spring side, it could make for a strong play that could win them the game.
mm-hmm.
Especially seeing as Toasted Oreo currently has the spike.
Though seeing as Lee Summit North's Phoenix currently has almost 30 kills, they're going to want to mainly be watching for him.
And if you saw, Lee Summit North just spent a lot of their credits, most players being down to 80, not 80, 800 credits now. So this means they definitely equipped better weaponry and things that they might be more comfortable with. But
We saw
Toasted Oreo just took down the enemy Phoenix, so
with a nice.
She did exactly as we were discussing before. She watched out specifically for him and went for him almost immediately.
But got basically shot in the face by the enemy Killjoy.
Mm-hmm.
She did try pushing too aggressively following that, and that just did not work out well.
And seeing as 3 players, or well, now 2 technically within Blue Spring side is at low health.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unlikely that things are gonna go too well.
There's a potential for a clutch, but we will have to wait and see.
It doesn't look like any of them have the spike yet either, so.
Mm-mm. The spike is most likely going to be guarded by all 4. And so to try and go and get it's definitely a death wish.
To push in and grab the spike would be what is needed. That way they'd be able to find a safer place to cover and detonate.
The way, but they currently have that entrance at a chokehold, and the only way to really get it without being at that chokehold is to go around, but they did not have the time for that. And
On top of that,
We have Boondock left, but in the end, it was a 4v1.
that was the only game we will be shoutcasting for today. As we can see, Lee Summit North won. Blue Springs High School did put up some resistance, but in the end, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.